folks, Engineer 775 here. We just blasted into a job like we always do and just throwing stuff everywhere, and not really throwing things, but we have just landed a new job with some new product and some new ideas. So we're going to be putting in two 15K. They are EMP hardened 15Ks, and I've been waiting 3 years for an EMP hardened lithium battery, and we finally have been promised one. Here it is, EndurEnergy's ESP. All right, looks like a regular server rack battery, and it is certified with the same testing. Endure is co-located with Sol-Ark in Allen, Texas. They're in the same building. They went through the same EMP hardening testing, and so I'm excited to do that. We're going to be putting in 50 kilowatts of EMP hardened lithium in this space. We're just we have delayed getting into this job because of bees. There's bees in here. See all these honeybees? We're going to get lit up. There's bees in here in the wall. We're about to see how bad it really is. We've got to put two 200 amp disconnects out here, a wiring trough. We have so much work to do out here. Right, Elijah, your first big summer job. Got little engineer 775. He's not little anymore. He's almost as tall as I am. So we are getting this place laid out here for our wiring troughs, disconnects, batteries, and it's important that we figure out how everything fits before we just go ripping and tearing. This is a 400 amp service, and we are not going to step it down to 200 amps, though. We have done that on a couple other jobs. We're going to maintain the full integrity of the 400 amp service. We'll be taking, mainly because they have a crazy water heater in here, a Stiebel Eltron that pulls 153 amps. It's an on-demand that I wish they didn't have, but they have it. And because of that, we're going to be doing a lot of big wire work on this one. And we're not going to be able to neck it down to 200. So we'll be using 2 bypasses, 2 fuse disconnects, 2 inverters. The inverters will be combined on the load side, and then we'll split back off. I've got a bunch of power distribution blocks for that big fun that's coming up. So these make life easier, and they fit inside the wiring trough and hide a lot of the ugliness. So here we go. We'll see. We got to get into this wall, and hopefully the bees don't kill us. It's the battle of the bees. The honeybees have just filled this wall, and for the most part they're gone. But there's some tenacious ones still trying to get in here. Yeehaw! So what we got to do? This is in the back of the meter base. This feeds a 200 amp panel on the other side of the home, and this feeds this 200 amp panel in this garage. So what we're going to have to do is cut and Polaris lug this out to a disconnect outside. Same with this. This will probably reach a disconnect outside, and that's why we use wiring troughs, folks. You can hide a lot, do a lot, make a lot of connections, safe connections inside the wiring trough. But we will have to, that one feeder that goes to the basement on the other side of the house, we are going to have to hijack that with some Polaris lugs, insulated tapped connectors. You might call them Polaris, some say Ilsco, some say Burndy. What do you say? Okay, it's day one. There's been a lot of head scratching, but good planning. We've been battling bees, and I think we have a plan to set the gutter height based on these 2 feeders. Again, we're trying to maintain 400 amps, because we are also feeding a barn that's 500 feet away. That's another thing. We're talking separately derived systems, and we want to hijack the feeder from the utility. I don't know if we can do that. Anyway, we got a lot of work to do, don't you think? Oh my goodness. And we like to tear things up more than anything. How are the bees doing right now? I think they've kind of chilled. No, they're still there. So we're going to put an outdoor gutter out here, 2 disconnects. It's a weird we got to maintain our 6'7" code to get to the disconnects. This is just a weird spot, ain't it, kid?
Yeah.
All right, pretty much have the array wrapped up. 6 strings of 7 paralleled and dropped into our, what I call our double IMO pull box. So again, weather head, 2 IMO disconnects, and ground bars are in there. This is, we ground, even though we're pounding this post 7 feet in the ground, we still add a supplemental ground and ground it to, there's a ground bar in here, and that'll be connected to that green wire between, so that we are bonded between our ground mount and the inverter and the house system. And then we're going to pull our 3 strings of number 8 THHN. We're about a 400-foot pull, and had to go home and get 2 more panels because they were broken, but they're back on, so we're completed with the array. We try to center the panels as much as possible on the purlins, just so balanced east to west. And then we cut our purlins with a bandsaw on both sides evenly, about 5 inches from the panel, and then we grind them, deburr them. They're still dangerous. I know Sinclair's working on a molded cap because any children or on a lawnmower and you're not careful and you hit that with your head, you're gonna know it. So I'm waiting on the utility right now. They're supposed to come out here and disconnect this transformer so that I can sub this barn off of the house. So we're getting set up to trench, build our system, and we know we're going to hit a lot of water lines. The customer already told me. So we brought our 3/4 inch plumbing, our 1 inch plumbing, 50/90s and pipe, and we're going to come through here and trench down and just start cutting through stuff. I'm going to start down in the worst part. It's always good to do the worst part of the job first. Well, that's one of the worst, besides the bees. So this is going to be really nice. He's going to have great production, and so he could add on if he needed to. We could pull other strings in later on, but I don't think he's going to need it. This is just going to bake nicely all day long, all year round. So loving that. All right, day 4, we got the inverters mounted on the gutter. So a big part of the project is planning out where everything gets placed, because real estate is at a premium. We're going to put a transfer switch bypass in here and another one here. And one of the tricks that's very helpful is to use a double lug in the bypass. So I like landing grid on the bottom, because I like just bringing the 4-aught in and just landing instead of trying to bend it around. And then, well, I have to do that anyway for the Sol-Ark side. We do that the same on this. So the output center lugs will be feeding one 200 amp panel in the home, and this one will be feeding the other 200 amp panel. So we have bypasses for each, and we will combine the output. You have to combine the outputs of the inverters, and we'll use a power distribution block in there to do that. And then the grid is actually combined in the meter base, because the meter base is one of the meter bases that has double lugs in it. So that's actually helpful. That's where it's combined. We just rigged this up with the Polaris lugs so that they can have power. So it's always an inconvenience for the customer to not have power. It's brutally hot here, so keeping the AC going is important. We put the micro air system soft starts in the HVAC the other day, and those are working great. Like to get those in, and they actually learn the startup, and that you will watch the locking rotor amps drop in the Bluetooth app, and that's really cool. So that's up and going, that's working fine. And then we got Duke Power to retire our service yesterday, actually last night, which is awesome. And they didn't pull the wires out of the meter, and we were thankful for that. There's a transformer on a pole over here. They got up and they just cut the wires. So we are disconnected there at the transformer. So when we connect to the meter base on the barn over there, we will be able to dig down. We got to get under a sidewalk. You'll see. But so that's good timing. But we've got a lot of landmines to get through. Power being one, water in multiple places. I've got all my plumbing equipment, parts and pieces to fix it. So let's get digging. All right, we've got our 4-aught run and landed in the meter base that has been retired by Duke. So I don't know why I always say that. Well, why don't I just retire your meter? That's when it's 500 feet away and a lot of wire. I just can't help myself. I think it's cool to just have one power bill for the rest of your life, and to be able to zero that out is the goal, and they will easily do that here. And I always look forward to seeing how the inverters run after a few months in. So we're close. We are close. We got our PV solars pulled in, and we're getting ready to put in. We got to make this connection to our barn. It is so hot and it's late. I'm done. So thank goodness for Polaris lugs. Man, we use them all the time. But the power now goes from the meter base in through the inside wiring trough, up through this wiring trough, back down in the top of these disconnects, and then from the bottom we go back up and back in. What a pain, but it has to be done. But we bought these are some nice heavy duty 600 volt Siemens disconnects, and they aren't general duty, they are heavy duty. So we overbuilt this, and it's very nice. So no cutting corners on this one. And we only had to make one water repair. So that was great. Anyway, it's a nice place, nice system. Hopefully we can almost get it wrapped up, because like I said, I got more batteries on the way to hook up to this, and I'm probably gonna have to do some sort of combiner to make it look nice. Okay, it's a wrap. I think it's a good looking system. 3 cabinets of ESP, EndurEnergy lithium ferrophosphate. We have permission to energize the system with Duke Power, so we just turned it on, but of course it's about to rain. So we were selling back a little while ago. The battery's getting a bunch, getting about 9 to 10 kilowatts right now, because it was 50% when we put it in. So we got the latest firmware on here, latest firmware on the batteries. We are closed loop communicating now with the batteries. You can tell we have a 1010 amp hour battery. I don't know if you can see that or not. And it's telling you basically the amperage at which the chargers, both inverters, are pushing power into the batteries. And that's it. So we're closed loop. That's always the goal. Get all the dip switch settings correct on the cabinets, on the batteries. And so I don't know how we would expand. I think we could go possibly move the gutter, we have battery combiners in there, moving that down, and then adding some floor mount they got some wall mounted brackets. I could fit more there if we needed to, but for now it's got 50 kW. It's in pretty good shape. We are past our inspection. Duke Power has approved, and now Duke Power has changed to a solar choice program, which is new to me. So I'm going to have to go in, figure out the best way to maximize the use of these inverters in using time of use settings, programming the inverter so that we are not getting caught paying higher rates at peak times. So Duke Power, that's new to me. I've not seen that, but a lot of the co-ops have time of use settings, and I think that's kind of the trend to go time of use. So you want to make sure that you do not program this thing incorrectly. Otherwise you're doing your customer a disservice. And this is a new one. This is a cellular modem, and we're using that. These things use about 11 megabits of data per month, so there's nothing. It's basically like manipulating text files, so it's not a lot of data usage for monitoring through PowerView. And PV Pro is the app, and so I think we're good. I think we're about done, and customer understands how the system works. That's always important during the commissioning, but it's a good looking system, but it does take up some space. We've taken up the entire garage but we are again two bypasses because we have two 200 amp panels, and also we are using, didn't want to minimize the pass through to the loads, especially they have a Stiebel Eltron. I didn't show you, I'm not going to go in the house. They have a Stiebel Eltron 3 element on demand, 3 double pole 40 amp breaker beast of a water heater that we highly recommend that they swap out. But because they didn't, we made sure that there was no limitation being passed through the inverters. Smarts soft starts are added to the HVAC, and so those are working good, and so I think we're completed, and they've been able to run everything they wanted to run out in the barn, which is way out there. It's a 580 foot run to subfeed that. That's off grid now, off Sol-Arks. The guys it's nice and hot down here, so we're ready to get out. But I think that is it. If you have any questions about these batteries or these systems, but this is the first fully with lithium EMP hardened system I've done. So if you need help, have questions, would like to tackle this yourself, we're glad. We can't get to all of them, so we're glad to help you with your system. Just let me know. It's Engineer 775 signing out.